Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. Kindly subscribe to our channel if you're watching for the first time. Click the notification bell, like and share our videos. And to all our subscribers and all our supporters, allow me to thank you in a very special way. Ladies and gentlemen, ever since the former President Uhuru Kenyatta and William Samoei Ruto fell out, there is one question that people have never answered. Between the two, who betrayed the other? Depending on the political divide that you support, you will give me different answers. Because Uhuru Kenyatta maintains that William Ruto sabotaged his agenda in their second term when William Ruto started campaigning, in fact 5 years before the 2022 election. But William Ruto will tell you categorically that after Uhuru promised that he would do his 2-term limit and then hand over the baton to him, he later changed and betrayed him. So depending on how you look at it, I don't know who betrayed the other, but we all know that in politics, betrayal is the only constant thing that will ever exist, that has ever existed. If there is one thing that Uhuru Kenyatta has never understood, is just how William Ruto managed to maneuver himself in Central Province and took all the members of parliament and convinced the members of Mount Kenya to rally against Uhuru Kenyatta, because they used a lot of fallacious stories telling the Mount Kenya that Uhuru betrayed them. Among the leaders who betrayed Uhuru Kenyatta, one stands out, and those who are close to Uhuru Kenyatta say that AG Muturi is one person who it seems Uhuru has never forgiven him. Because if you look at people like Ndindi Nyoro, Kimani Chungwa, these are people who William Ruto, it is like William Ruto started grooming them. When William Ruto was managing the Jubilee nominations in 2017, there was a time when there were complaints that the nominations were bungled, and William Ruto was given that authority to manage the nominations, and he decided he was going to give a ticket to those whom he wanted to work with. That is how people like Maina Kamanda fell by the wayside, because William Ruto knew very well that he wanted to capture Mount Kenya votes, and he didn't want people who had voices, people like Maina Kamanda. And these are people who you can say William Ruto has a bragging right that he kind of groomed them. They were not pro-Uhuru per se. But AG Muturi is someone who has worked with Uhuru Kenyatta for some time. And as David Murathe puts it, Uhuru Kenyatta picked AG Muturi twice after he lost elections. And he would have been a shell were it not for Uhuru Kenyatta. Take a look.
Rigathi has never been Uhuru's PA, and people should debunk this theory. Rigathi was a special DO of Moi. When Uhuru went to local government, he found Rigathi there. Alright? He was a civil servant attached to that ministry where Uhuru becomes the minister. So you walk in and you find the establishment. Rigathi just happened to be part of that. When Uhuru became president, he never moved with Rigathi as his PA. You know that. He went in with the people like AG Muturi. Alright? So that thing about it is officialdom, you know, career civil servants. If you go into a ministry and you find a PS, it's the job designation, correct? How now you relate or whatever is another matter altogether. But when you select your own personal assistant, Uhuru never selected Rigathi. He selected AG Muturi, correct? AG Muturi, my friend, who I worked with for 10 years at the Uhuru Kenyatta Center. You know, we had a UK center where I was a director. JB was in charge of legal and constitutional affairs and parliamentary affairs. The motions, the bills for parliament were being done by JB. If there is somebody who has really stabbed Uhuru in the back is JB. JB lost in the election of 2007, okay, to Lenny Kivuti. Uhuru brought him to the UK Centre. I worked in the centre at Red Cross House with JB, all right. In 2012, JB ran again in Chicago. He lost in Chicago, all right, and Uhuru won the presidency, okay. Remember when Uhuru lost in 2002, AG Muturi was his chief whip. So these are people who have a history of coming together. Uhuru then made JB the Speaker of the National Assembly. Uhuru made JB, after losing 2 elections, he made him the 3rd most powerful person in the pecking order.
The discussion around JB Muturi is ripe because there are reports that he is being frustrated in the government, and you all know by now that there is a bill in parliament that seeks to clip some of his powers, including the custodian of the government seal. This is something that has been discussed. Now, it's reported that one of the reasons why JB Muturi is being frustrated, he really feels frustrated in this government, is because there are powers within the Kenya Kwanza government that are forcing JB Muturi to fast track certain developments that he knows very well will fail the legal test as a lawyer. But there are people who believe that things must be cajoled. You do it, let them go to court, frustrate the judiciary. Exactly what William Ruto is doing now, threatening the judiciary to pass everything that is pro-government. So JB Muturi is going slow on this, and they don't like it. Number 2, William Ruto has got a deep state and is busy making a formidable deep state. And they do not want JB Muturi to be part and parcel of this deep state. You remember how the former Attorney General Githu Muigai was part and parcel of the deep state in Uhuru government. But JB Muturi is being pushed to the periphery because they don't want it to be part and parcel of the deep state. They also see JB Muturi as an Uhuru apologist. There are people who still feel that he could be the one leaking some secrets. So with this, they don't want him. Remember, people like Felix Kosgei are really deeply rooted in this government, and they decide what should happen. But why do you think JB Muturi is a pushover? Why do you think it is an easy target to the Kenya Kwanza government? Because do you know there are people in this government whom you cannot joke around with? But JB Muturi is an easy target because, number 1, he never brought anything to this Kenya Kwanza government. Rigathi Gachagua has always maintained that they will be rewarding those who brought something to the government. JB Muturi falls in the category of people like the Senate Speaker, Amason Kingi, the tourism minister, the former governor of Machakos. These are people who came to this government for perceptional politics, ili ionekane kuna watu ambao wameachana na Azimio. But if you ask exactly what they brought in terms of numbers, they have nothing. And so even if he is targeted, there is nothing. He cannot have any defense against himself. So it is easy to push him around. It is easy to make life difficult for him. It is easy to sideline him in this government because he never brought anything. There are people like Wetangula. It is being rumored that the 200,000 votes that was the gap between Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga was actually hatched in Bungoma County. Because if you look at the number of votes that Wetangula gave William Ruto, it is about 240,000. And many people believe, in fact, according to the reports or argument from Azimio during the presidential case in the Supreme Court, it was found out that there were certain irregularities in terms of votes in Bungoma. So it is perceived that Wetangula gave something, brought something to the Kenya Kwanza regime, and so you cannot target him. Number 2, JB Muturi has lost twice as it is being put there. And so he's got no defense. Even if you kick him out today, he cannot go back to their people and they start demonstrations that our people are being targeted. I want you to compare JB Muturi with people like Eden Duale, people like Murkomen. These are people who contested, they were elected first, then they resigned. That shows that these are people who have got attachment to their constituents. So today, if you start frustrating somebody like Eden Duale, of course, I understand people are saying that the votes were rigged in Eden Duale's constituency, but as it is, Eden Duale is recorded that he was a member of parliament. And so if you want to frustrate him today, he would go back to the people who elected him and they start saying, ni watu wetu being, our people are being targeted. But with JB Muturi, when he lost twice, his position was negotiated. Uhuru had picked him and made him the Speaker of the National Assembly. And so his position was not given by the people of Kenya. You know, it is very easy. If you are given something that is negotiated, it can easily be taken away. Even Wetangula himself contested for the Bungoma senatorial seat and he won. Then when they were now making their government and they were forming their government, he resigned and there was a by-election. So you look at their strength when you are elected by the people and you are nominated or you are appointed. The strength of someone who has been elected is bigger, and that is why JB Muturi does not have this strength. In terms of negotiations, if today, for example, you want to kick out somebody like Alfred Mutua, and he wants to go back to Azimio to negotiate in terms of numbers, na anasema mimi nataka nipewe hivi, mimi nataka, you will be asked, how many people do you have? None. So JB Muturi is sitting in a very precarious seat because he can be kicked out anytime, he can be frustrated, and he has nothing on his defense. When someone picks you, the famous say that you bite the hands that feed you. JB Muturi is an epitome of a man who has bitten the hands that fed him. Because let us face it, he was picked up by Uhuru Kenyatta. That is the truth. When you lose an election twice, ladies and gentlemen, you might have used resources during the campaigns, you have been humiliated, and I don't know why he would have been, maybe he would have been practicing laws in some law firm there. But he was picked and made the third in command. Because when the president and the deputy president are not around in the country, it is the Speaker of the National Assembly that is in charge. So someone who has lost an election twice is given that opportunity, and he went by the wave in central Kenya and he betrayed Uhuru Kenyatta. And this Uhuru curse is something that is really haunting him. And that is why all the bills will be brought so that his powers can be clipped, he can be frustrated, he has nowhere to place his head. But one thing I know, son of Jomo can forgive him. Do you think JB Muturi should be forgiven? And do you think he made the right decision now that he's being frustrated in this government? And what do you think he should do moving forward? Share with me in the comment section.